All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today as you can see, we're in a different location. We are actually in my pop room. So you can see some of them in the background and stuff like that. Today we're going to be talking about imperialism. Okay, we're doing the next part of it. So if you remember from the last class, or if you didn't, you weren't there, and you need to watch the other video before this one. But basically, a little rundown. If you were in class but you kind of forgot, uh, Prussia has a new prime minister, and his last name is Bismarck. Now, this guy is going to do some things in this lesson. You're going to see he's going to try to influence people to do a certain thing, and you're going to see if he's successful or not. Okay. So the objective today, we're going to analyze Bismarck's plan to gain more territory. We're going to examine how Britain was able to avoid a revolution while basically every other country in Europe was killing their king, queen, or they were putting them in prison, or they exiled them. But Britain didn't. Britain was able to maintain their king and queen. We're going to look at that, how they did that. And then we're going to create an argument on whether two countries can merge without any problems. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to your warm-up. All right, so here's your warm-up picture. Now, the first question asks you, what are the three countries represented here? So we're talking about the people. Okay, so I don't know what device you're watching on. If you're on your phone, it might be a little bit hard to see that far person, but on their bag, their country starts with an R. Okay, so try to think what countries start with R. That should help you out. And the other ones you can see pretty well. You should be able to. Um, that's the first question. Who are the three countries with the bags? Okay. The second question asks you, why do you think the guy in the middle, the one who's not facing us, why do you think he has his hand behind his back? Why do you think he's not trying to grab places like the other two places? You know, what could be a All right, so Bismarck again is the prime minister of Prussia, and basically, when he was asked, "What's your foreign policy? How are you going to get along with other countries, things like that?" His foreign policy was basically, "Let's go to war." His policy was very just horrible. It was pick a fight with anybody. And that's what happened in 1864. Two countries, Denmark and Austria, tried to fight Prussia, but Prussia, if you remember from last class, Prussia has an amazing large army, and they're able to quickly defeat Denmark and Austria. Now, Denmark says, okay, we lost, we got our butt kicked, we're done. Austria, however, is like that little kid that might be pestering you, maybe your little cousin, brother. You beat them on a video game, and they're like, "Come on, one more time. Come on, I'll beat you. Come on, I know I can beat you." And you're like, "Dude, I'm gonna beat you again. But if you want to, come on." That's basically what happened with Austria. They tried to take on Prussia again 2 years later, and the war only lasted, less than a month. They got beat bad. So Germany, sorry, not Germany, Prussia is getting pretty big. Now, they got the northern German states to join them. No problem. They're like, hey, yeah, we'll join you guys. The southern German states, however, were a little bit of a problem because the thing is, nowadays, a lot of people, religion is not that high up on the scale of importance. But back then it was. It really was important that they had religion and that their religion was distant, which is a difference in religion. So they were kind of scared of that. But they were more scared of the French because the French, remember when Napoleon was taking over, he was taking over these little countries. So if you look at the map, all those countries, like in that light orange, little brownish color, that little purplish, that lighter green, all those areas are countries. They're small. They got beat bad by the French and Napoleon. So they're like, oh, we don't want to change our religion, but we don't like these guys because they just they just beat us. They just ran through. So yeah, we'll go with you, Prussia. So they went with Prussia because again, they don't know for certain if Prussia was going to make them change religions, but they knew the French, if they had a chance, they would attack. All right, so now I don't know if you know this or not, but in the 1870s, well, before, when kingdoms had, kids, a king and queen of France had a daughter, they would have their daughter marry the son of like England, you know, especially this is usually done to keep the peace, between two countries, things like that. So they would have this king's son and this king's daughter marry, and then those countries be at peace, things like that. And then them two would have a kid, and that kid might marry let's say it's a boy, marry the daughter of another country way over here. So there's a lot of royalty, you know, let's marry them. Let's marry them. Problem was, it came down to legitimacy of, well, who's going to be the next king? What's the lineage? And this is a problem that happened in 1870, where France basically said the Prussian leader, he no, he should not be the king of Spain. He's the king of Prussia. He should not be the king of Spain. That's not how it works. He can't. He's not the next in line. No, there's something. There has to be somebody in between. And Prussia's like, hey, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. The lineage is that he's next in line. He's already the king of Prussia. He's going to be the king of Spain. And France is like, no, no. They're trying to fight it. Okay. This is where Bismarck goes full on. All right. He sees how he can get under the skin of France. And oh man, does he do it. If you or anyone can get under someone's skin, like irritate them, tick them off, know what buttons to press, know what to say to get someone angry, that's Bismarck with France. He got France so upset that they actually declared war on them July 13th, 1870. And Bismarck's like, bring it. So France comes and they get their butt kicked. I mean, it's a bad, bad war between these two, um, especially on the French side. Prussia actually invades France several times. Now, here's the thing. That guy you see in that picture right there, that is Napoleon III. That is the grandson of Napoleon Bonaparte, the guy we talked about at the end of the French Revolution. Okay. Um, so September 2nd, 1870, at Sedan, the Prussian army actually captures the French army. They surround them, they capture them, and it's like, oh, hey, you're the ruler, aren't you? You're Napoleon III. Hey guys, look, Napoleon III is right here. Oh, cool. So we got the army and their king. See how that works? So amazing. So they go to Paris and basically come to an agreement on the terms of surrender on January 28th, 1871. You're not reading the notes wrong. France had to pay Prussia 5 billion francs, and they had to give up the territory they lost during the war. So that time when the Prussians advanced all those 3 times, all that land they took up, France had to give up. Now let's say it like this. If you fought somebody, right? You fought them, they beat you up, they stole your wallet, you know, you know, and humiliated you, would you just be like, well, that's it, I guess. I guess I'll just take it and leave? No, chances are you're gonna be like, I want revenge. I want to get revenge. I want round two. That's exactly what France is saying in their head. They're like, we'll get you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even 5 years, 10 years from now. But soon, one day when you're not expecting it, Prussia, bam, we're going to get you and it's going to hurt. Okay. So here's your next question. Well, actually, your first question. What do you think France is going to do to get revenge? All right, so think about it. What could they do? Do you think they're going to hurt them economically? Get pinch them in the wallet? Do you think they're gonna fight them militarily? When they don't expect it. Do you think they're gonna do some sabotage thing? If Prussia starts to build bridges, that they might try to destroy it, or do something to little towns. Get the people to turn against them. I mean, what do you think they'll do? What seems likely to happen? Okay, so and then tell me, how long do you think it's gonna take? Do you think it's gonna take days, months, years? If you say days, well, how many days? If you say years, well, how many years? One, 5, 50, 100? What? You tell me. Okay, what you think? All right, so write your response, pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2. All right, so January 18th, 1871, Bismarck and 600 German princes, nobles, and generals all meet up at this place called the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles. That's actually a picture of it inside. And yes, that is gold. That's paintings up there you see up there. It's a beautiful place. All right. Why are they there? Well, because William the First of Prussia was announced, or say pronounced, as Kaiser of the Second German Empire. Okay, now some of you guys might be thinking, well, what's the first? The first was the medieval Holy Roman Empire, during that time, the medieval times. That was the first German Empire. This one is the second German Empire. When Hitler takes over in the World War II, he calls it the Third Reich, which is the third empire or third kingdom. Okay, so yeah, that's why. So if you never knew why the Nazis were called the Third Reich, now you know, and we will get to that later on in history. Now, Prussia monarchy and army had unified the German countries, right? So now it's one solid country. All those little countries from the north and the south, they came together to proclaim, yes, Kaiser, this guy, he's our leader. We are one solid country. Okay? With all of them combined, Prussia, northern German states, and southern German states united, they had two major factors working for them. One, the industry resources, meaning they had stuff to build things, they had stuff to buy things, and then they had military strength. So they had money, stuff to make things, and uh, military strength. They became the strongest power in Europe. They surpassed France and Britain, which hasn't happened since, it's been a while. It's been several, well, geez, over 1,000 years since that happened. All right, so here's my next question for you. Do you think Otto von Bismarck, the guy who basically started the whole fighting with Denmark and Austria and gained all that territory from France and got all that money from France, he did it all. William the First didn't. He did. So, do you think he's going to stage a coup d'état where the military takes over? Do you think he's going to lead them and say, you know what, I deserve this. I'm the one who did all this, you know? Or do you think he's going to be like, you know what, I did this so that my country, Germany, could be united and powerful. I did that, so I'm cool. Which one do you think is going to be more likely? You want to take over because he feels like, hey, I did all the work. I should be the one in power. Or do you think he's going to be like, no, I don't care about that stuff. I just want my country to be number one, and I did that. Which one? Which one do you think? Okay. Pause the video, think about it, write your response. Okay. We're moving on in 3, 2. All right. So revolution was spreading everywhere. Again, like we talked about France, they executed their king and queen, chopped off their heads. Same thing with the really rich people, church people, regular people. They were chopping heads left and right. Okay. This happened all across Europe and things like that. People realized, wow, we have the power, not the king and queen. We really have the power. So that popped up everywhere. People exiling their kings and queens, overthrowing them, things like that, changing the government. But Britain avoided it several times, not just once or twice, several times. They avoided it. Here's how they did it. In 1832, revolution talk was coming up. Get rid of the king, chop off their heads, do all this stuff. What happened was they said, okay, look at right now, only men who own property can vote. How about this? If you have a job and you pay taxes, you can vote. So a lot of men were like, yeah, I have a job and I pay my taxes. Yeah, yeah. You too? Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, that works for us. So they voted that part. In the 1850s, 1860s, there was a political reform that was happening, that was being done that people wanted. People wanted more rights. So the king, queen, and them were like, okay, well, what do you want? We want the right to do this, and this. Okay, let's look at it. Okay, we say yes to this, yes to this, yes to this, no to that, no to that, yes to this, and yes to this. So the people were like, well, we didn't get everything we wanted, but I mean, we got a lot of what we wanted, so yeah, we're good. One group in particular was like, yeah, hi. We know you control us, we know that, but you need to stay out of our business because, we can take care of ourselves. You handle stuff in Britain, you do that. We'll handle stuff here in Ireland. Okay. The best way I can explain it is like this. Um, it's like your parents help pay your rent, right? To your new apartment, things like that. Um, and they tell you you need to do this, and this, and this. You don't live with them anymore. You have your own place. They're just helping you out. Um, it's like, no, you live in your own place. You should be able to do what you want, right? That's basically how Ireland feels. Yes, they are controlled by Britain, but they're like, let us handle things here. If something happens here, let us deal with it. You don't need to get yourself involved in this. It's us. Okay. The other thing was there was economic growth where the middle class grew. Not the rich, not the poor, the middle class grew. Okay? This is always a good thing in a country. Whenever the middle class grows, that means there's fewer millionaires and things like that, and that means there's fewer poor people, that there's more people in the middle. When more people have money and are able to enjoy life and buy things and enjoy themselves, they're not going to be angry over things. They're not. So that's what happens here. People have money and they're like, yay, I got money, things are good. They don't want reform. They don't want change because change might make their money go away, might hurt their pocket. So people are like, no, leave things the way they are. That's how they avoided revolution, kept the people happy. It's not that hard, but again, some people, some places, those in power, they don't want to give an inch. That's how much they care about power. They're not willing to sacrifice just a little to make the people, the rest of the people, the large amount of people happy. and not talk about revolution and chopping off people's heads and things like that. All right, so here's your next question. What do you think is more important, money or freedoms? Okay. Now, in this scenario, you can't buy your freedom. You can't be like, oh, I have $1 billion, I'm going to buy freedom. No, because you have $1 billion, the government has 8 quadrillion. So your money means nothing to them. So what would you rather be? Filthy rich, you know, and the government tells you what to do, where to go, how late you can stay up, you know, what kind of car you can drive, things like that. Or would you rather live barely making a living, paycheck to paycheck? I mean, you can't buy the nicest car, you barely get like a hunk of junk. You don't live in the nicest place, you're barely making ends meet, but you have all kinds of freedom, all kinds of rights. So you'll never ever be, truly, oh, I'm saving my money. No, you can't because you'll starve and die. You have to spend that money for food and shelter and clothes. Um, so you'll never ever be rich, nowhere near. But you'll have freedoms. You can stay as late as you want. You can get any job you want. You know, things like that. But you'll never ever be rich, ever. So which one would you say is a better scenario? Have money, no freedoms, uh, or have tons of money, be filthy rich, but no freedom whatsoever. Okay, so think about it. Write your response because we're moving on in three, two. All right, so now we come to the exit ticket question. So the first, remember, you're only responding to one of these. The first question asks you, how would you characterize Bismarck? Would you consider him like a genius for, how he got the countries to attack and fight against them and, had them pay him when they won? Or would you consider him a tyrant, like a bully? This guy, his foreign policy, how he's going to get along with countries was basically, let's go to war with them. That's not how you get along with other countries. So would you say he's a tyrant or would you call him a genius? And why would you call him that? And how would you give examples of why you would say he's a genius or a tyrant? The second question says, give an example of how Britain was able to avoid a revolution. And why do you believe that example worked? So if you say something regarding the money and stuff like that, explain how does that work? Give an example. Okay. The last one says, if you were beating an enemy in war and they basically surrendered, they put their gun down, they lift their hands up and they say, we surrender. Would you accept their surrender, and take them in? Or would you keep on fighting and wipe them out? And why did you make that choice? Why did you make that choice? Okay. So whichever question you can answer better, go with that one. Okay. So that's it for this lesson. Hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay. You guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.